Hey guys, just real quick before I start this video, I just wanted to let you guys know I apologize for the severe lack of videos this week compared to last week. I actually did not expect to upload as much as I ended up uploading last week, since I'm really excited to get back into the swing of things. So again, I apologize. This is going to end up being the only video that come out this week. Also, I am going to be switching gears, kind of prioritizing getting everything that is most definitely going to get nominated for Best Picture reviewed, as well as movies that I wish got nominated for Best Picture reviewed. So, yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoy this video. What's up, guys? It's your boy Criticist here, and I'm just going to do a video about long runtimes in films. Just gonna rant off the dome about it. I bring this up because I just finished watching Brady Corbett's The Brutalist. I'm gonna hold off on my full opinion on that movie until I get to do a review of it, because that's a whole other video entirely for sure. But if you're not in the know, The Brutalist is about 3.5 hours long, but it includes a 15-minute intermission in the middle of it, which to me is kind of unheard of for longer movies nowadays. You don't really get an intermission with really long movies anymore, or at least none that I'm familiar with. Movies like Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon, especially Killers of the Flower Moon, I think that might have benefited from an intermission, possibly. Movies like that, regardless of pacing and plot or what have you, they are just objectively pretty long. I would say 180 minutes, 3 hours. That means it goes from breakfast time to lunchtime in that period of time. But The Brutalist, which is probably going to definitely be the longest film that is a contender for Best Picture come the Oscars time, is pretty long. Like I said, 3.5 hours. It's so long that certain people that were supposed to be on the panel voting for the Oscars come soon have noted that they didn't finish it because of its daunting runtime. And I immediately have two things to say about that. One, your job is to sit down, watch the movie, and then give your opinion on whether or not it should win cinematography, director, picture, etc. If for some reason you find the prospect of sitting down and watching one that's 3.5 hours long daunting, quit. Give the job to someone else. And two, even though me personally, I don't see 3.5 hours as too long, but I can also understand that whether or not a film is too long or not, it can be pretty subjective. I might have something to say if you think a movie that is just a little under the 2 hour mark is too long, or if you think that a film is unfinished if it just is at the 90-minute mark. I might have my own personal opinions about how you feel, but at the end of the day, runtime can be subjective at times. A runtime making or breaking a film can also just be a issue that ends up being in the hands of the director and the editor or whatever. A movie like Oppenheimer, which is my favorite movie of 2023, by the way, it justifies its runtime incredibly well with its pacing, its subject matter. Just, it packs so much into the film that I don't feel one or two ways about the movie being as long as it is. It's just up to the filmmaker to justify its runtime in the 90 minutes it runs, the 180 minutes it runs, or even like the 250 minutes or whatever. Like a movie that when you just look at it in a vacuum, that's at standard length. I don't know verbatim what Madame Web's runtime is. It's probably just give or take 2 hours or whatever. But dude, when I watched Madame Web, it felt way longer than whatever the runtime was posted. But on the flip side, there's movies that are pretty long that I need to be reminded that are technically long, like Pulp Fiction. Every time I watch Pulp Fiction, I'm always reminded that it pushes towards the 3 hour mark. Again, not to really say how I felt about The Brutalist as a movie, I definitely found that the intermission that was in The Brutalist was kind of refreshing. The movie runs for about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. And then once it gets to a certain point, a very pivotal point in the film, it seamlessly transitions to the intermission, and it gives you like 15 minutes to get up, stretch yourself, go to the bathroom, which is what I did. Refill your icy or your drink, maybe get some popcorn, maybe just, chit chat with your friends about how you feel about the movie so far. It makes me wonder if this is going to be a newer standard for longer movies. Because after all, The Brutalist, even though it's in still more or less in a limited amount of theaters, it already grossed more than a movie like Kraven the Hunter, which is in twice, if not three times the amount of theaters that The Brutalist is in. Which, I mean, that's a whole other subject, is Kraven the Hunter not a great send-off for the Spider-Sonyverse, yada yada yada. Add to that, there was the whole issue of A24's distributing strategy. That's a tough word to say sometimes. I don't know why. Withholding the film from so many people until award season to generate hype for the movie, and yeah, now it's probably going to be a commercial success. And that's all due despite its monolith of a runtime. Again, me personally, I don't really feel a runtime is too daunting for me. The way I'm looking at one 3.5 hour long movie, and in a way the intermission really did help me process it that way, is, oh, this is just a double feature just with one movie. I watch one part, I step back for a minute and like go to the bathroom or whatever, and go back in, and now I'm watching the second part. Imagine if they did that for Wicked. That'd be a whole other discourse entirely. That actually gives me the idea of maybe they should just do that for Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2. I would definitely go to that. Because The Brutalist's success is not going to be ignored or seen as like a one-off thing. Theaters and marketers and distributors are going to look at this as something to strongly consider. What I think is going to be a concern, though, is if there's a movie that's without an intermission, like 2 hours long or whatever, what if they end up just letting a movie run for an hour and then intermission and then letting it run for the rest of it? Like I said, though, The Brutalist did it in such a way where it wasn't immersion breaking, or it just felt like that it was a sudden stop. Because even if you just sit down and not really go anywhere and watch the countdown for the intermission, there's still music, there's still like background noise suggesting that something is about to happen. But I feel like that not every studio is going to approach it the same way. They might just approach it as like, oh, we're just going to put this in, and for our animated family movie or the next big superhero movie or whatever, we're not really going to give too much of a rat's ass on like how it's implemented. We're just going to put it in, and that'll be more friendly to the audience or whatever. Anyway, those are just a lot of thoughts I had after watching The Brutalist. I will be doing a review for it pretty soon, since I'm pretty sure it's going to get nominated for Best Pictures pretty soon. And I just have a lot to unpack about it that you are not going to want to miss if you like and subscribe. What are your thoughts on runtimes in films? Do you prefer longer movies? Do you prefer shorter movies? Do you care? And what about intermissions? Because, like I said, The Brutalist is going to be a high-selling movie. It's probably going to not just meet its break-even point, even if the budget for it was, I think, below the 10 million side. So, yeah, they're not going to ignore that. They're going to say, oh, this is a 3.5 hour long movie, but it still made this much money. Let's unpack why they did that. If you're someone that goes to the movies either as much as I do or semi as much as I do, that's something that you're going to want to pay attention to, because, like I said, other people are going to. This is your boy, Chrysalis here, signing off.